Look at him doing Tim Pool stuff. This video is called Wokeness is Chaotic and Destructive and is not about racial justice. It's not about that. Grr. When is D&D Day? I thought it was Thursdays. It is Thursdays, but we're not there yet. Actually, later after this stream, I'm working on the set downstairs. So D&D will be Thursdays very shortly. Maybe next Thursday we're doing something. Minimum, I'm probably going to do some session zeros off camera or test footage that maybe you'll see in the future. But like, whoo, it's going to be fucking good, dude. It's going to be good. We're real close. So close. But speaking of close, we're very close to Tim Pool. Talking about wokeness is chaotic and destructive. It is not about racial justice. Tim is mad about the wokies. So let's see what he has to say.
Has evolved.
Well,
I think wokeism has evolved into something meaningless. And so what the problem is, there are a lot of more philosophically mature individuals who can look at the literature, look at the Frankfurt School, look at critical race theory's origins, Kimberly Crenshaw, Derek Bell, et cetera, and the things they've said, and try to make sense of it. The problem is, while these things may have been contributing factors to what wokeism has become, wokeism is more akin to a fire. It is reckless, it is wild, it spreads, it consumes and destroys.
These are just words. He hasn't really said stuff yet.
And if you take a look at a lot of the big cancel culture moments of the past decade...
Do you think he does, like, Bloodborne stuff with the sword and the flintlock? Like, when the camera's shut off? Do you think that's what this is about?
They actually don't align towards any ideology. So, my favorite example...
It's also funny he has a guitar back here. I don't know. He's just a funny fucking guy. I got my guitar and my katana and my flintlock pistol.
Example of the contradictions of the woke are when
AK Cruz, next one.
There was a women's organization that tweeted the word Wimixin.
Oh yes, I remember. So by the way, so did Elizabeth Warren. That's the moment when I thought, oh my, like Elizabeth Warren sets herself up as this great intellectual, policy.
Does Elizabeth Warren set herself up as a great intellectual? Is that a thing? Wokeism is fire. It must. She definitely says that I taught kids. Noted scholar Liz Warren. Liz Warren is definitely like college professor thing. Is college professor being an intellectual? I don't know. I guess as a guy who went to do education stuff in school, college professors don't really go like, I am an intellectual. You know what I mean? Unless they're like, doctors, like if they have like a doctorate or like, because most people just have like a bachelor's or a master's degree, you know what I mean, which is great. It shows some expertise in your field, but they don't usually like suck their own dicks about it. I just don't know.
Person, and then what is she doing? Just total pandering, madness.
So this organization tweets the word WOMXN.
Yeah, I remember that. It's like
adherents of wokeism, though, said that's offensive. How dare you create a different word that implies trans women are not women? And so now you simultaneously have.
Was anybody mad about that? I don't know anything about. I don't remember this. I don't think about it. If you want to add an X, like, to stuff, that's fine. I don't care. If you also aren't comfortable with that, that's fine too. I don't care. Just like do whatever you want. I think it's only when you apply that to somebody else. If you say like, "Oh, you're Latin X" or whatever, and then that person goes, "No, I'm not." You know what I mean? But you can identify yourself as such. Who cares? I don't know. Wimixen is a turf thing. I mean that could be. I just don't really. It's just cringe. Yeah. Yep, Jasmine, you're right on my thing. It's like it's pretty cringy for Elizabeth Warren to do it, but like if somebody else wants, like if you identify as something that you think Wimixen applies to, I don't care. I don't care at all. That's fine. That's 100% valid. But like, I don't see a lot of lefties doing that. I've never seen this term being like used regularly, and apparently what you guys are saying is that it's just the turf shit. Huh. Yeah, we did the gothic stuff earlier. It was pretty funny though.
The word woman, being non-inclusive and being inclusive, and Wimixin being both simultaneously not exclusive and inclusive, there is no appropriate thing you can say that can be determined to be acceptable to woke.
I just said something I believe is pretty acceptable.
Other than to drop to your knees and adhere to the power structures.
Nope. Nope. That's not how it works. If you don't want to use a term, don't use it. If you do want to use a term, use it. It's fine. It's the whole thing. Anyway. Could he just simply ask somebody? Does he think that the left is constantly like there is a, don't get me wrong, there is a loud and small subset of lefty spaces, similar to righty spaces, where there's just like purity people. Oh, you're not the most pure, you're canceled, and it's like they have no power. You know what I mean? Like these are the types of people that get really butthurt about really mundane stuff. Not really the normal experience for a lefty online. And then on the right, you have people like a Bryson Gray who's like, you're all sinners. You know what I mean? Because you've accepted the paradigm shift of like gay people shouldn't be criminalized. You know what I mean? It's not like we're not always attacking each other. There's like a, can I still drop to my knee? Come on. Hey. Keep it together, guys. Keep it together. Yes, you can drop to your knees.
There's no moral framework. There's no logic guiding their principles. It is just we win, period.
What? What do you think what?
It is more like a swarm of wasps than any functioning ideology.
Yeah.
And again, I'll stress, when we look at the Frankfurt School and we look at, Weimar Germany and Antifa and...
Why are we looking at Weimar Germany? What? He's just saying words.
The anti-fascist, protection rampart, the Berlin Wall, and all of the history.
The Berlin Wall. You know how that was a bad? Was it a good thing? Was it a bad thing? The wokies, Berlin Wall. We just say words that sound like, oh, that sounds like a divisive political thing.
That leads
to Frankfurt School.
Today, smart people
like Tim, of course.
Mathematically oriented people are
yes, big time math users are very. If you're good at math, you're good at smart. Okay, chat. That's what I always say, and you know it. You know I always say that. If you're good at math, you're good at smart, and that's true. It's fact. Smart, good math.
Trying to calculate and analyze, and they're missing what's really going on. A chaotic, destructive force that will say and do anything to win.
Anything. We're winning. We're winning by saying anything because Elizabeth Warren tweeted Wimixin at some point in her life. Just cutthroat, dude. We are cutthroat winners. All right? That's how it works, chat. We got to her. We got to Big Mama Liz. All right? We got her to tweet Wimixin. That was the plan all along. For what you may ask? Well, maybe you're just not smart enough to know the plan, okay? Because we got math, so we have smart.
I agree with that, and I think
I agree with that. True.
The other bit I'd add to it is the way that so many
Does that guy have the world's smallest hands?
The way that so many.
Wait, am I being weird here? Am I a weirdo? Am I tripping? Does he have like real tiny hands, or am I like losing my mind? Semicolon, thanks, or semi-locan. Thanks for following. Seriously, am I a weirdo, or those seem small? Not that I have like huge fucking hands or anything. I'm just saying like, seems weird. Those are normal? Okay, I'm tripping. Okay, I don't know. Maybe it's I don't know what's going on.
Have been
look normal
it in a totally superficial way. Particularly if you think about.
I don't know. Okay. Are you serious with me? Are you being serious? Those are normal. I'm not trying to be shitty. I'm actually like there's some Trump shit going on here. They just seem like not proportional. Maybe it's because his head's huge because he's so smart. Maybe that's it. He's just got a big dome. His hands are normal. Dome is too big. That's what it is.
Corporate America. I think that's
anyway,
a really
done
great
with the hands.
Where the way that this has spread, like
I can't stop looking at him, but I'm done with him. Okay, not gonna bring it up again. Can't stop looking at him.
Your analogy is a good one. Through corporate America, and they suddenly kind of announced we're going to have their training sessions, and Robin DiAngelo's the set text and all this kind of stuff. They haven't thought about it. Those, the HR departments and they haven't sort of bothered to read. It's just like, oh, this we better do this because everyone's going on about it and our employees are going to, and we've got this vocal minority of our employees.
Is he saying words? He's not really saying anything that means stuff yet. You know what I mean? They're just sort of like dealing in vagaries right now. I'm very excited for them to say specific things, I guess.
So he's saying, why aren't we doing our training?
Yeah, he just keeps talking about his hands for some reason.
Maybe, or social media, a few vocal people. And so they're all going for it without even
He did say Robin DiAngelo. He said Tim said Berlin Wall and Frankfurt School. They're saying like buzzwords, but not with really any reason,
At a moment's thought, it's totally superficial, and that's why the virtue signaling, I think, is just such a big part of it.
It's meaningless. It's just, are you in line with the cult or not?
But Elizabeth Warren is not in line with the cult. Let's steel man it. We are 100% in a cult, a corn one. She's not in it. She's not involved. Okay? She's not a good, I don't think most leftists are like, yeah, Elizabeth Warren, that's my candidate. They're just like, Elizabeth Warren, decent. You know what I mean? Decent, not great, better than like a lib. But she libs out on lots of stuff. She's just a little bit further left of most libs. You know what I mean? It's like the best praise I can give to Elizabeth Warren. She is snaky, and she also fucks. That was confirmed during the election cycle.
And if you're a part of the
exactly
cult,
right,
then
exactly
the swarm will attack.
I think a lot of this chaos is deliberate. The first thing that comes.
Oh, this fucking guy! This guy's a loony bin. Love listening to this fucking guy.
To mind is the famous saying,
he's going to say something crazy. I guarantee he says some sort of conspiracy theory thing. I've never seen an episode of Tim Pool's podcast where he's featured and he didn't end up saying something wacky.
Out of chaos. And when you look at a lot of very prominent elites, whether it's Ted Turner, Henry Kissinger, Rockefeller, they're the ones that were very instrumental in opening up China to the world and cheering on what was happening during the Cultural Revolution and their population control efforts.
So China's population control efforts have to do. I love that he has a Kyrie. You probably don't realize this because you're dweebs, but I'm a jock. Okay, this is a Brooklyn Nets Kyrie Irving jersey in their Bed-Stuy city unis, which are pretty nice. But anyway,
and you see a lot.
But he would be kicked out of Bed-Stuy, for the record. He's too right wing.
A lot of these very powerful individuals also now call for the Great Reset to build back better and implement similar policies that essentially are creating the Western world into being this kind of Orwellian Chinese social credit score system that I think that they've been trying to do here. And I think one way that they will be successful in doing that is by dividing and conquering, having people fight each other on trivial differences, on absolute nonsense as they get away with pulling off this Great Reset as everyone is chaotic.
He's talking about Great Reset?
I've heard that phrase, and I don't really know what do you
phrase?
mean by
which phrase?
The Great Reset.
Oh, fuck's sake. What I tell you, he's going to say something fucking wacky, dude. And now they're going to be like, hey, what's a Great Reset? Okay.
What is that?
Well, that's a phrase used by many powerful individuals, especially within the World Economic Forum, by individuals like Klaus Schwab. There's a lot of corporate heads. There's a lot of billionaires. There's, even the Pope came out, said that he's making a corporate coalition of people in industry that will put on the Great
Semi-Locon, thanks for the prime, dude.
Reset. The World Economic Forum described it as people owning nothing, having no privacy, and being happier than ever. And this is, of course...
Oh, so it's their phrase.
Yes.
The
and then you see many prominent politicians say we need to implement the Great Reset. We're here to build back better. Biden's policy, his, quote, infrastructure bill, is literally called the Build Back Better plan, where he talks about printing trillions of dollars and spending it on...
But what is it, though? Why is he not saying what it is? There was a population control clause in the Build Back Better plan. Never heard of it. Well, yeah, making sure that the bridges and the roads and railroads and other infrastructure, plumbing, electricity, making sure that's updated for the modern day. That is population control, and it's population control because it keeps people from dying. So it controls the population's ability to not die. Okay? You're just not smart, okay? You gotta be a little smarter, okay? Communism is infrastructure. Yeah. See, you're getting it now. Undying fan. Yeah. You're getting it now. You just gotta think it through. Conspiracies.
Equity efforts and other social climate issues that, of course, are the absolute opposite of what they pretend to be.
So Klaus Schwab, I wanted to go on.
I'll give you the simple version.
I just get very excited every time I see the world at Davos. Anyway.
Here's a simple version. We have right here this website,
okay.
worldeconomicforum.org/great-reset.
Yeah.
This is something on their website. It's not
it's amazing.
The media.
That's why
the media has tried covering it up, claiming it was a conspiracy theory. The gist of it is, I'll tell you. They put out a video. It said, "You will own nothing and you will be happy by 2030." They wrote an article where they said, like, your living room will be used for business meetings when you're not around.
What?
You won't own things. You'll just use things that are available to you. You'll have no home or bedroom. People will come and use your stuff as however they see fit. What they're ultimately trying to say is they think
techno-feudalism, the next stage of capitalism. Is that what they're talking about? Just more capitalism? Are they mad about? Because that sounds like hyper-capitalism. That sounds like even more capitalism. Techno-feudalism is probably the best word for it, Clef Games. If you don't own anything, Tim, they can't use your stuff. That's true. That's pretty smart. I don't think any leftist wants people to be able to commodify every aspect of their lives. Tossing that out there. I don't think leftists are for hyper-commodification. Maybe ask one of us.
Say that. Stakeholders to
there's an urgent need for global stakeholders to cooperate in simultaneously managing the direct consequences of the COVID-19 crisis. To improve the state of the World Economic Forum is starting the Great Reset Initiative. Yeah. You will own nothing.
What's it say? Okay, are they going to get into this? Okay, it looks like they're going to go down. Okay, I'll let them get to it.
This is the World Economic Forum.
No, you will own nothing. What's that about?
So that's a video they produced and ultimately deleted. That said, the famous line from they put it on Twitter.
You will own nothing.
You will own nothing.
Was that an
and you will be happy.
opinion from one of their people?
Yes.
Was their corporate view?
It's their official view. It was an official World Economic Forum statement that was put out. So that you take a look at what Joe Biden has been doing. He wants to shut down another.
Are we not going to talk about that at all? Okay, I guess I'll just go back and read it. The context, COVID-19 crisis and the political, economic, and social disruptions that is caused is fundamentally changing the traditional context for decision-making. The inconsistencies, inadequacies, and contradictions of multiple systems, from health and financial to energy and education, are more exposed than ever amidst a global context of concern for our lives, livelihoods, and the planet. Leaders find themselves at a historic crossroads, managing short-term pressures against medium and long-term uncertainties. The opportunity. As we enter a unique window of opportunity to shape the recovery, this initiative will offer insights to help inform all those determining the future state of global relations, the direction of national economies, the priorities of societies, the nature of the business models of the management of the global commons, drawing from the vision and vast expertise of the leaders engaged across the forum's communities. The Great Reset Initiative has a set of dimensions to build a new social contract that honors the dignity of every human being. I'm still not getting any sort of information on this. Okay. Great Reset Initiative. WeForum.org. Let's try that. WeForum.org. WeForum.org/great-reset. Let's try that. All right. So this is their video. Is this a big time? That's 47 minutes. Not watching it. What am I seeing? Just nothing. Just not a lot of information. Overview. That's exactly where we're at right now. Okay. The World Economic Forum part. Again, this sounds like capitalism. I don't know why. Find out more about the Great Reset. Let's do it. Push to reset the world. Klaus Schwab. So the Schwabs. Okay. COVID-19 lockdowns may be gradually easing, but anxiety about the world's social and economic prospects is only intensifying. To achieve a better outcome of economic downturn, the world must act jointly and swiftly to revamp all aspects of our societies. In short, we need a great reset of capitalism. Weird. It's capitalism. So what's the prescription here? The Great Reset agenda would have three main components. The first would steer the market towards fairer outcomes. To this end, government should improve coordination, for example, in tax, regulatory, and fiscal policy, upgrade trade arrangements, and create the conditions for a stakeholder economy. At a time of diminishing tax bases and soaring public debt, governments have a powerful incentive to pursue such action. Moreover, government should implement long overdue reforms that promote more equitable outcomes depending on the country. This may include changes to wealth taxes, the withdrawal of fossil fuel subsidies, and new rules governing intellectual property, trade, and competition. They're not really saying, they're just saying that it should address them, but not how? Yeah. The Great Reset agenda is to harness the innovations of the Fourth Industrial Revolution to support the public good, especially by addressing health and social challenges during COVID-19 crisis, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so this seems like, and I think because they use the word equity, Tim Pool's brain shut off. This is capitalism, dog. This is just more capitalism to help solve the problems that capitalism caused. This isn't like leftist wokies. This is just economists understanding, at least a little bit, that current capitalism bad, but they don't understand that the answer is not to just do more of it differently. Yeah. Anyway, Pervosh's super capitalism. I think he'd prefer my super capitalism.
Oh, no,
personally,
you will be
cornmunism
from one of their people. Was their corporate view?
It's their official view. It was an official World Economic Forum statement that was put out. So that you take a look at what Joe Biden has been doing. He wants to shut down another oil pipeline. He shuts down Keystone. He bans fracking. With the
fracking is bad, and Keystone is unethical. I understand that like profit margins are things that you gotta deal with in capitalism, but we could simply do a more ethical version of these things and still get what you want. Also, we should probably move on from oil, dog.
The crisis at the ports with the crisis of inflation.
When did he ban fracking? Oh, I don't know. Did he ban fracking? Biden fracking ban. I don't know. Let's see. Federal drilling and fracking update. Biden's promised a ban. He's doing the opposite. Biden said no more drilling on federal lands, period. Except, apparently that hasn't happened. Cool. So Biden's doing the thing that he'd like, is to not ban fracking and do more of it. Something that I think Biden sucks for, but he's just saying Biden sucks anyway in response to a thing that he supports. Oddly partisan there, Tim?
With the constant lies from the media. First, they said there's no inflation. Then they said there's some inflation, it's not a big deal.
It's transitory.
It's transitory. Yeah. Then they said it's going to end. Now they're saying it's here to stay. Now they're saying inflation's actually a good thing. So what's happening is all across the board, there's a labor shortage.
It's so weird. Are we blaming Biden for worldwide inflation? Like worldwide. This is due to COVID. Right? Like Joe Biden is not a good president in my opinion, but I'm a leftist, right? He's just better than Donald Trump. You know what I mean? That's not a passing grade. That's just a better failing grade. You know what I mean? But like it's pretty clear that this is a COVID problem that has fucked the world for a little while. I don't know how we as Americans consider ourselves smart when we act like this. Like genuinely, how do you not have like the understanding of like, oh yeah, there's a global pandemic. Wild stuff.
There's a product shortage. There's an energy crisis in the U.S. And I got to tell you, it may be conspiratorial, but when they come out and say "Build Back Better" is the slogan of their project in the Great Reset, and then Joe Biden says we're going to build back better, and this is the Build Back Better bill, Isn't it more absurd? Wouldn't Occam's razor suggest that to deny they're actively trying to destroy the economy would be the conspiracy?
No, I don't.
What? What the fuck? That's not... Christ, dude. I gotta be honest. I don't think a massive government-funded jobs bill that will also improve the material conditions of everyone's life in America is going to ruin the economy. I think you might see an initial downturn in your economic output due to the investment, and then eventually the returns will come in. That's how these things work every time. Like, Occam's razor didn't really apply there. I don't know why we talked about that. He's just so lost in the weeds. He's just like, he's got like the Charlie Kelly yarn wall. It doesn't really make sense. Why would any politician want to destroy the economy? Well, you see, because he's evil. He's an evil person who just wants to destroy the economy. Because he's a communist, chat. Communists don't like economy.
I think that I want to look. I want to be fair to what I think they mean, which is, and actually I suspect underlies this. Even though I can't stand Davos. He tried to sue me because I wrote some piece about him being totally corrupt, which he is.
He is, yeah.
And I've had first-hand experience of it in terms of how they approach participants in the conference, and how he's siphoned off the money. And I put it in a newspaper article, which I think the headline was something like, "Attending Davos should be as shameful as running a sweatshop," or something, whatever. Anyway, he went nuts and the whole thing. But then with the Build Back, so I'm very.
My neighbors are talking.
Very happy to have a go at Davos any moment of any day.
This guy is just dripping with charisma. Holy shit!
With the Build Back Better, I think what they're getting at, I think, and I would say not all of this.
Thank you for the $1 redo for corn, Mr. Farmer. I actually don't know if your name, sure, Mister, just Farmer will do.
This is crazy.
Appreciate it.
To say that what you've seen as a result of the pandemic is all sorts of things that are broken about how we organize the economy and society that actually we could do with fixing. One really obvious example of that, I think, is our dependence on China.
Railcast, thanks for the 27 months.
The fact that so many of the pharmaceuticals are made in China and so on. I think that that's a great example of something that the pandemic has revealed to everyone. I mean, I've been making that argument for a long time. In my first book, I argued for decoupling from China.
Except now what Joe Biden's policies
No,
are
I'm not saying he's doing the right thing.
It's actually bolstering and emboldening China.
But let's just try and be fair. So I think that's an example it sounds like we would agree about, okay?
I mean, we could definitely decouple from capitalism from China, but that would cause the rise in prices of medicines because you refuse to socialize them because capitalism. So then we'd have to produce them here. I don't want to be beholden to another nation like China either because of the way that they operate ethically or lack thereof. But like the reason that you go to China for things is because of capitalism, because it's cheaper for you to get things from China because of their bad labor laws. Instead of simply decommodifying survival necessities, you could have big baby capitalism. You could have big dog adult R-rated capitalism in sectors that it's reasonable to have, like PlayStations and Nikes and fucking pizza. You could have that. But when you have big dog R-rated adult-sized capitalism in healthcare, mental health care, fucking housing, food, stuff like that, not reasonable. It isn't reasonable. And then this happens. You have a cascade effect because nobody can afford to just simply live, right? And they have to scrape by, so a lot of bad things happen. You could turn this around immediately. Corn knows more politics than some politicians out there. Of course I do. I'm a corn. Corn good. Wheat bad.
They would say Well, another example is the kind of precariousness of people's working lives, and therefore we need to do things that will help that. And that's a lot of the driving force.
Precariousness in what specific regard, my friend? What's the precariousness about?
Ramble was just a gorilla.
Stare Arena, thanks for following.
Behind some of the stuff in the spending bill,
But
you know, and even there, I'd agree with some of that.
But
I'm just saying it's not the job of the federal government to do it.
Yeah.
You should be doing it at the state level or the local level, whatever. But I don't think that they. I don't know. What do you think that
they're
doing
the
with
ones
Build
that
Back
created their dependency on China? They're the ones that are
Better?
creating
Of
the
course they
modern
do. Of
problems.
course
What do you mean they? What are you talking about? American industrial billionaires have been the reason that China's labor is being fucking like used. It's unethical uses of capitalism. What are you talking about? It's not they, it's capitalism. Oh, Brooke, you redeemed. Say something nice. God damn it. All right. What do I say? I got to say something nice about this guy. Thank you for redeeming your channel points, Brooke. This guy right here, I will say very nicely, it looks like he's a very good note taker. He's got a highlighter and he's got a blue pen and a black pen. He seems like an excellent note taker. Really proud of him. Really proud of him.
In this world. So for the people to come and create the problem.
By the way, literally, they're the people. Like the guy
Yeah.
Steve Ricchetti, who is the senior, whatever he's called, like senior advisor, I think is his title, in in Biden's team. He's the number one guy, right?
Yeah.
He's been involved in putting all these bills together. He was there. He was the guy who orchestrated under the Clinton administration China's entry into the World Trade Organization.
Yeah.
And he's like totally
and-
corrupt. I mean, his brother's running a lobbying firm. Have you talked about all this? I don't know, on the show. I don't know. His brother's running a lobbying firm.
Armor and Quills. It amuses me that many lefties know more about capitalism than most capitalists in exactly the same way that many atheists know more about the Bible than most Christians. I'm both. Yeah, I agree. I don't know. I just don't know if they understand the mechanisms by which capitalism creates what they call like affluence and stuff like that. It's the movement of capital, not the hoarding of it. Like having it, cool, like a dragon, that's cool. But what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do with it? Just sit on it? Like imagine if billionaires just weren't allowed to personally have more than $1 billion. Maybe $1 billion is the tippy top cap, and you have to redistribute anything past $1 billion in your own personal or company's thing. Like a corporation can only get so big, and it's certain umbrellas and stuff. Like you could redistribute it. Redistribute it. Did Jake's mic change suddenly? Oh, is it back? Is it normal? Sorry. Love how in every one of these type of talks, they always talk around the real cause of these problems. I don't understand. Like, what do they think the problem is? Just China? Like, we stop working with China, what happens? What happens when we stop working with China? If you operate under the same exact framework, except you remove China's labor from the equation, all you do is take products that normally get produced in China and have them be produced in America for more money. They just cost more money. And I would imagine that the people that you pay to do that job are still not paid a high enough wage to buy the product that they make themselves, which is often the case. So how do you think that system works? You created this. And by you, I mean capitalists. Like, you created the system by which you whine about it. You know what I mean? Prices just go up because you continue to commodify stuff. Now, if you decommodify survival necessities, like we talk about all the time on this channel, if you decommodify survival necessities, they being working class people, you, me, everyone else, will have the resources necessary because you're not spending it on rent or food. Well, you can spend it on some food, but like we talked about this before. Shelter, you can choose, you can opt in. Like I would still own my house and have my mortgage. I'm 100% fine with that. I love my house. I like being here. This is where I want to live. However, when I rented, why are we commodifying rental spaces? Why? For what reason? There's no reason. We don't have to commodify that. We could have those be subsidized and have no out-of-pocket cost for the person. Like I said before, we could reverse mortgage anyone that owns a rental property and just pay them throughout, and they could also apply to be the steward of that property as well and work for the government, so they make a double wage, which would be a good deal for all landlords, in my opinion. A good way to phase out landlords without fucking them, which is fine. I don't want landlords to be fucked because not every landlord went into it with insidious intent. It just is an innately insidious sort of practice. You know what I mean? A lot of people just inherited properties that were already rentals, and some people already lived there when they got their property. So they're not like evil inherently. It's just like you do bad shit. It's much like ACAB. Not every cop is individually a piece of shit, but being part of the apparatus of policing, you're involved in the being a shit part. You know what I mean? So I don't want to penalize these people for anything like that, but I do want to make sure that everybody gets to live without any rent. That'd be amazing. Now, again, if you want to buy a house, I'm fine if you enter the housing market. But guess what? You're no longer spending rent every month to survive. You have shelter now. So what does that offer you? That offers you so much more money up front to spend on what? Fucking all sorts of stuff. Right? Because especially if schooling is also taken care of, so you can go get an education anywhere you want. And then if food is taken care of, which by food, I mean like produce, like bread, milk, eggs, produce. You can go buy Doritos. You can't get them for free, but you can get some tomatoes for free. You know what I mean? And someone's not going to hoard tomatoes. You know what I mean? Not likely. Because what's the point? And then you just subsidize the farmers like usual. In fact, I think farmers would make out better than they do selling in open markets, and we would waste less. Because we'd just be like, well, why are we producing this if no one's eating it? We're just wasting it. Why don't we make sure food security is taken care of? So you handle food security. You handle shelter, which means an entire group of people that didn't have dignity or well-being before can now enter the workforce and society as what capitalists call productive members of society. You know what I mean? They can get educations because there's no paywall for it. And so now you can take entire swaths of the population and pump them into the otherwise capitalist machine. Obviously, you want healthcare, mental health care, dental, vision, etc., because then you have all those people that no longer have to worry about that with all the extra money that comes from not spending rent. Also being incredibly healthy, it makes everything go. We can still commodify pretty much every fucking thing else. Everything else. And then boom. Capitalism continues to move forward in a very progressive way for as long as that's sustainable until you get post-scarcity and you can start moving towards or close to post-scarcity. And you can start decommodifying more things as you find it less reasonable to commodify it. You know what I mean? We don't have to do it overnight. It could be done very easily and it wouldn't be any problem at all. I have no idea why anyone would be against that, just from an economic standpoint. Unless you own a rental property. And you're like, that's mine.
Whose kind of clients have sort of spectacularly increased just in the last few months. Surprise, surprise, because his brother's right there in the White House with Biden.
So you have the people causing the problem offering up the only solution.
Yeah.
So when people are suffering...
What? I'm offering up a better solution, and I don't think I caused the capitalism problem.
Because they can't find work, they can't make enough money because of inflation. They're struggling with shortages across the board. These are all problems created by the federal government.
And then they want to make you more dependent on that.
And now they're coming out saying, here's the solution to all those problems.
Yeah. And frankly, I'm going to toss this out there. I don't want any interaction with the government at any level during my life. I don't think anybody does. In fact, I think the government is way too involved in our day-to-day lives. Like, for instance, if you're a trans person and you need to change your name legally, you have to take out a fucking ad in the paper and do all sorts of crazy bending over backwards bullshit just to have your identity validated by the government. Ridiculous. They have their hands on too many things. I want a smaller government. I just want things decommodified so that we can live. I don't know how you're against these things. Like, if you're a right-winger, you consider yourself a conservative, I don't know how you could be against any of this shit that we talk about as leftists. You know what I mean? It doesn't really make any sense. I'm genuinely trying to find the rub that someone like Tim Pool would have with my takes here. We're in a world of unlimited growth, and you try to take away that. If you try to take that away from, unlimited growth. There seems to be a limit, don't you say? Seems to be like we're hitting a limit.
Problem,
I agree with that critique.
Problem, reaction, solution is something that people talk about a lot. It's the same people who created it, the same people who are coming in with a solution, and the solution benefits them even that much greatly. I mean, if you look at what they're doing, right, in the name of helping people, they're limiting people's ability to travel. They're limiting people's ability to earn money. They're limiting people's ability to have a family, to have a happy, productive life.
I think capitalism does all of those things.
And what they're doing is we
all
literally have witnessed one of the largest transfers of wealth in recorded human history during the lockdowns, which helped out the billionaire class and screwed everyone else over.
We mean during the lockdown? Bro, the initial lockdowns happened under the Trump administration. What are you talking about? What? Does he not recall? What do you mean? The entirety of 2020 was Trump. What? It started in fucking February of that year, and it was the whole fucking thing. This is wild stuff.
And then we are seeing people's wealth literally be eviscerated, robbed right in front of them, as billionaires have made off with the most amount of money almost in all of recorded human history.
Yes, that was... Leftists don't like that. What are you talking about? What do you mean? How are they mad at Joe Biden for something that Donald Trump did? And the entire apparatus of the Republican, like, congressional, or I guess legislative body. Like, wild. So you agree billionaires are bastards, right?
We're talking about trillions of dollars being transferred from poor middle-class people going to, of course, the Schwabs, the Bezos, the Gateses.
Yes. Yes. Why aren't you leftists?
And all these other individuals that are living by a different set of rules that get to do whatever they want as they tell you that you are living beyond your means as they're flying around in their private jets on their...
Then how are you anti-leftist policies? I don't understand this. You're literally like pro-capitalism and anti tax billionaires when that's the leftist platform. It doesn't make any sense. What are you actually against?
Their beachfront properties saying, I know what's right for you. I need more power. I need more money. I will tell you exactly how to live your life. And I refuse to be a slave or peasant under that kind of system because that's exactly the system that they want. They want you eating bugs. Yeah. They want you in a pod. They want you as a little unhealthy, fat, depressed ninny.
A ninny. This is capitalism, bro. Like, what the fuck?
I refuse to live like that.
The best part is when these same people who there's two big ones, obviously, when they fly in private jets to climate summits, but when they say the water levels are rising and then buy beachfront property. Yes. I think climate change is a big problem. I think humans are absolutely contributing to a lot of ecological collapse.
Yes. Oh my God, the bar is so low that I just got happy he said that out loud.
But how am I supposed to support? You know what I think? I genuinely believe they use the urgency of ecological disaster, things we can see and measure, like the windshield phenomenon, bug populations, colony collapse disorder, to scare people into giving up their power so they can buy beachfront property, so they can get private jets.
So, but they're the ones causing the ecological disasters. They're the ones. The military-industrial complex is one of the biggest polluters in the world.
Why aren't you leftists? I don't understand where you find the time to remain capitalists. Dr. Gamble says, sorry, I got to get this out. It's bothering me. But that You Own Nothing shirt that he's wearing right now, the You Own Nothing shirt is annoying. Most folks don't own houses. They don't own companies. We don't own video games nowadays. We don't own software like Photoshop, even if we pay for it. The most thing we own is the right to access things, not to the things themselves. And this is due to capitalism. True, Dr. Gamble. That's a very good point. That's a very good point. Cobby's in chat for Dr. Gamble dropping bombs. Dropping poggy bombs in chat. Goodness.
We haven't even had that discussion yet. The corporations in China,
they're the elites on the Titanic, and they're stealing the fine china and then jumping in a lifeboat before anyone knows what's happening. Thanks for checking out this.
Wow, that was a jarring end to that segment. Speaking about scare tactics, isn't Tim the guy who fearmongered for the last 18 months about an encroaching civil war? Yup, true. Great point. Ken Jack, thank you. Very good point. What would a leftist America look like? Easy. I mean, just the one I just detailed during this video. A leftist America could be very simply, by just modern progressive leftists like us, you could have aspects of capitalism throughout the country. Because, again, we can't just not capitalism anymore. It doesn't work. We're too interconnected with the rest of the world to just stop, right? We're on the roller coaster. And we gotta. Once you get on and you're strapped in, you gotta finish the ride, right? However, we don't have to try to pry the bars off to get a better, more roller coastery experience. Real danger involved. Make me feel it. We could do it safely, and we could do it responsibly. It'd be sort of like market socialism, sure. Really, not even. It's just like taking some things out of commodification. Like I said, housing, school, basic food, and I already said school. Housing, education, food, healthcare. Yeah. Those just those four things. And really, if you did just housing or just healthcare, that'd be a huge boost to everybody. But housing would probably be the number one. Like if you ask the normal, if you ask your average working class person what they are worried about most, but financially, it's probably making rent or a medical bill, and then finally school. You know what I mean? I don't have money for books, I don't have money to pay my medical bills, or I don't have money for rent. Those are the three top things. So that's obviously a situation where commodification is bumping up against ethics. And anytime you have commodification arguing with what's the most ethical thing to do versus what's the most profitable thing to do, you have to say we're going to pick ethics, right? You have to. Now, is it unethical to charge for clothing? You could argue it is. Absolutely. We're probably not there as a society yet, and I would love clothing to be more accessible. However, I think it's pretty obvious, that if you don't commodify housing, you don't commodify basic food, you don't commodify healthcare, you don't commodify education, you'll find a way with all of those amenities to get clothing at an affordable rate. You know what I mean? We already managed to clothe most people, so I don't think, mostly it's a problem in the colder states where you don't have coats and stuff like that, rather. But what do you mean, spending our tax dollars on those aspects? Spending our tax dollars on those aspects? Well, sure, I guess, in a way. We're in the speeding car of capitalism. We need to slow it down. But, for instance, I think, what do they say? How much would it cost to house the houseless? And it's $19 billion a year. Yeah, something like that. Or $20 billion. It's about $20 billion a year to house everybody that doesn't have a house. That's pretty fucking cheap. And now what I'm saying is, you say, oh, our tax dollars and stuff like that. It's a short-sighted viewpoint to say oh, we're gonna oh, now I have to spend my money on that. It's really not how it works, because if you just tax it normally, first of all, you can minimize your military industrial complex spending, because we have a lot of fat in the budget and most of it's military spending. Obviously, we don't need to be in all these other countries. But beyond that, the long-term effect of it is what you need to think about, right? What's the long-term effect of having every single human person in America, unless they opt out? You can opt out and be homeless if you want, which is a rare but probably a thing. A rare choice, but probably a thing. But those people become members of society that pay taxes. Members of society that are in the system, that are actually flourishing in a system, because they don't have to spend money on housing or basic food, but they can still go buy Taco Bell. They just don't have to buy bread. You know what I mean? They can eat eggs at home. They can have veggies and a good diet, rice and beans and shit, and for no cost at all. Everybody gets access to that. However, it takes a little bit of time. So you might have an initial sort of what are we gonna do with our budget? But it's just a short-sighted. I guess capitalist outlook. If you just don't want to do that. We could have military building sustainable energy projects across the country or get. Yeah, I mean, sustainable energy would be good. Nuclear is definitely a good way to go. Fast fashion is pretty bad for the environment. Yeah, stuff like that, where we could focus on just like, hey, what if we just bought stuff that lasted a while? And we're kind of getting closer to that. Like our generation and the younger generation, like the Zoomers, a lot of people are definitely more into like thrifting and the longevity of things they buy. And like for a while, it was very much like, oh, look at all this innovation, new thing, 90s, 2000s, 2010s. About 30 years we've done that. You could say a little bit of the 80s too, but really when it started was the 90s. Because even when I was a kid, I remember it not being that big a deal. And then FOMO started to really hit, especially with social media. Especially since we don't have any money, of course. $768 billion military budget just passed in September. It's insane. Exactly. So we could take simply $20 billion of that. It could still be a $748 billion military budget. Every human person in America could be housed. You know what I mean? Could have shelter, which is just basic decency and dignity. If you're the greatest country on earth, every person in America should have an opportunity to be housed for free. Right? Should be easy. Now, we already subsidize heavily pretty much 100% of all farming. Like, farmers make more money from the government than they do from consumers. And they do that on purpose to keep money or to keep prices for food and produce low, specifically because they know people have to eat. So we already kind of do this thing. What you could simply do is subsidize it a little bit further and just ensure people have food. That one's going to be a little bit harder to pass because people are shitty. However, again, if you're not spending money on shelter, pretty easy to get food relative to how it is now, right? So shelter is really the biggest one. Healthcare is probably the second one because you want those people to be able to be healthy. And not just those people, but everybody. Because there's lots of people like me. Like I would go to the hospital, but we're filled with COVID stuff. Like I need a checkup. I got like a hernia thing I got to check out at some point. But I don't want to go and take up any space in the hospital. And I certainly don't want to get exposed to COVID. You know what I mean? So, and the nation is safer if everyone's healthy and housed. And consider this. If you support police officers, if everyone is housed, that means that the urgency that people have in low-income situations to do crime, to maintain their living situation, is much lower. You will see easily a much lower crime rate as soon as we house every person. And you can, and I'm saying house every person. Anyone who rents right now, any of you that rent right now, your rent would be free. You would just not have any rent. And this wouldn't mean that the person that owns the rental property would be fucked, because I don't want that. We just talked about that. The government would basically just say, hey, here's a reverse mortgage. Here's the property. We are going to pay you the value of your property or over the course of 15 to 30 years, your choice, right? Like a mortgage works. You get to make that. And then if you also choose, we do need people to oversee properties. Now you have to follow our standards, not your former standards, but the government standards. Right? If you follow the government standards, you can also become a governmental employee and become not a landlord, but a land steward or a rental steward or a housing steward. One of those titles. Someone whose job it is to foster a vibrant living space. So it's not going to be just like, pods that we make with the government and sort of set them down. There's already the infrastructure to house people around the country. We could also use dead malls and convert those into living spaces if we need the space, because malls are fucking dead and we already have the infrastructure there. It's already there. You could also turn those places into community gardens and stuff, so you could help the produce situation there as well. I mean, literally all of these things cascade. If you support police officers, for instance, now you don't have a homeless issue to worry about. Now you don't have people committing crimes to survive, especially if you decriminalize drug offenses. Now you don't have that as much. And then, of course, if you don't have rent to pay, that money stays in your pocket because most of us have jobs anyway, right? Not everybody, but most. And then, of course, it means you don't need a job to survive. You can go to school to try to get something better. You also don't have to. You can work part-time 6 months a year or something like that, spend the other 6 months traveling, and then come on back to your free housing, and that's fine too. Now, not a lot of people are going to do that, but some people might. And you know what that creates? A very strong culture and a happy culture where people want to and feel, if people feel invested in by the apparatus of the government, they will inherently, out of pride and out of just like the natural way that we work with each other, you will, whether you realize you're doing it or not, reinvest into the country at large. You know what I'm saying? Because you're going to want to, you're going to feel like, man, I could go to school and do anything? How jacked up would you be about the ability to not have to pay rent, not have to worry about food, not have to worry about your health care, and not have to worry about spending money on whatever vocation you choose, right? Now, does this mean you're going to be guaranteed success in school? Of course not. But if you're a poor person and you have the aptitude to become a doctor, well, guess what? Now we have another doctor. And that's fucking dope, isn't it? And that person makes money, moves out of that the free stuff, moves into housing. More people buy houses. If you're a Republican, you love this. More people buy houses. If people are monetarily or rather financially stable, guess what they do, Republicans? They make babies. So you have fewer abortions. You have more families, which you are fucking all about. And if they spend more time in the communities, you would have less division sowed because they'd have more time to spend with their families, more time to spend in their communities in general. You would have more people be able to do things like charity, so you wouldn't necessarily have to redistribute wealth in the way that we think that you might need to, because the entire paradigm of society would shift simply by offering dignity to people that don't have it. Easy, right? And consider this. If you don't have to worry about rent, you get to choose where you live more freely. So consider how you would spread out around the country and where you would possibly go, even if it's just in your hometown, where you could possibly end up happy, healthy, and exactly where you want to be, because the overhead cost to just simply renting doesn't exist. Yeah. So that's my prescription for a better